Okay, if you could please just start with introduce yourself and tell us where you're from and why you're so excited to be here today at Switch.
Sure. My name is Soren Trampedach, and I'm from Work Club Florence Guild. I've been with Switch from the very beginning and been part of the thinking out the whole idea and concept, and been very excited about that from a very early stage.
So why do you love Switch, and what do you think? What are you trying to achieve?
So initially, what drove me to it was Catherine Stace and her vision around cure brain cancer, and how I find that really inspiring. That it was not a national approach, but it was an international approach. And then I met Mark and saw his work around the multinationals, the bigger companies. And my interest has always been in how can you match the big multinationals with this pool of talent? And how can you find solutions from outside your business? Because that's what you will need to do as well going forward. How can you match those? And that is essentially what Switch is trying to match bigger companies' challenges and get diverse new ideas on how to approach them. And I think that it's necessary from bigger companies' perspective to actually do that. The question is, how do you do it in an effective way that's just not just talk, but it develops into deliverables, actions, something that can actually be used for the corporates. So I think that whole process, fascinated about that process, and I think that whole connection between startups, academics, non-corporates, matching it with those issues will only grow, only be more and more important in the future.
And tell us about the unique approach. Like, Switch is not just an innovation event. It's like everyone says it's more than a hackathon.
Yeah.
It's also a fundraiser on top of that. So tell us about what's so unique.
So I think what's so unique with this partnership, Switch and Cure Brain Cancer, is that it's really the same thing that they're trying to do, just from different angles. So there's a lot of synergies, I believe, and the way that Cure Brain Cancer is trying to approach their challenges globally, it's not dissimilar to how corporates will be looking at approaching challenges in their business. So it's the same thing, and it's really looking at challenges outside the normal corporate structure. And if you do that, I think you increase the probability of you actually finding more answers. It's not about finding the holy grail and finding, you have the solution after 3 days, but it's just more awareness, it's more ideas. Like I always say, with the awareness comes a choice, and it gives you an opportunity to go back and reflect and then say, well, where do we then need to focus? And I'm now talking as a corporate, but if you were on the other side, you may also get ideas from those conversations and understanding those challenges.
So what does it mean for you to actually support Switch, like personally?
What it means for me to support Switch is, first of all, I've been supporting Cure Brain Cancer for a number of years, and that's close to my heart, and I'll continue to support that. I've engaged with Mark Savaki now for a number of years, and I have a lot of respect for what he's doing in terms of his works. I can also see the challenges that you go into normal corporates and you talk about innovation, and they all say that they're doing innovation and they're looking at it, but mostly are not. It's more something which is in annual report, or 5 people in a basement somewhere. It's not really looking at the world with new eyes. And I think it's necessary, the companies that will actually, from a pure business perspective, companies that are open to look outside, open to understand what's ahead, and linking into that will just be ahead of other companies. So I think you'll see Switch will become, it is a unique event today, but you'll see more and more of these collaborations in the future, no doubt.
You've already kind of answered this a little bit in this question, but what do you think, what's the biggest value for corporates to get involved, and why do you think it is so important that more and more corporates get involved in events like Switch?
I think it's absolutely necessary for corporates to be involved in such an event like Switch. this is not about designing the next app or something tactical. It's strategic. It's getting the right audience and a diverse audience, not just the students, not just the tech, but a real diverse audience to look at some of the challenges that your business is facing. And if you get those minds working on some of your challenges, there's no doubt that you will get different perspectives that you may agree or disagree with, but you will get different perspectives. And you will get people telling you what they really mean and not just what the corporate structure is sort of putting in place for people to say. So companies that don't do this and are not open for this, I think are just going to fall behind. And they're exposing themselves. Companies that are open to this, from a pure math statistic perspective, if you ask me, will have a higher probability of adjusting their models wherever they need to adjust it, whether it's fine-tuning or whether it's serious strategic changes.
So when we look at the participants, like you said, it's a very diverse audience. There's corporates, there's individuals, there's entrepreneurs. What do you think, and they've been given their challenge today that they have to work through in the next 2 days. What do you think are the most important skill sets that they need to bring to the table?
I actually think the most important skill sets to bring to the table for these teams that are participating in Switch is the diversity. And they just have to come with their own background, their own stories, their own experience, and bring that to the table and share that with the group and come up with a common solution, if you like, or proposal based on that. If you're in your own tribe and it's all engineers that's sitting in one group, or if it's all people from the same background, you're not going to come up with something that's really new or unique. Or, well, you may do, but the likelihood is that it's not. The fact that it's so diverse will bring some different conversations on the table. You'll look at these aspects from many different angles. I think that is what's going to create some interesting proposals. I think it's all around diversity. The more diverse people you put in groups together, the more interesting ideas you'll get.
And that's what they have to bring to the table now. But what do you think after working through those challenges for 2 days? What do you think will be the most valuable thing that they're actually going to be taking away from Switch? What do you hope as a supporter and as someone who's worked on Switch for a while? What do you hope that they'll be walking away with?
Now, Switch is not going to save the world in 3 days and save companies and make strategic changes that are major. I don't think so. But it's a step and it's a process. This is year 1. I think year 2 will have probably improvements on processes. It's a never-ending experiment in terms of understanding how do you put people together, how do you match what are true business challenges for those companies that decide to participate, and how do you come up with something that is valuable to them and that is of good quality that can be taken away and used. It's not, like I said, about changing the world, but it's about giving ideas and creating an awareness for them. So I hope the sponsors, the participants, it's not just the innovation arm that's involved. It should be at a leadership level that's actually sitting in and listening to these proposals, because it could create ideas, it could create sparks in those executives' minds around what they should be looking at that they're not looking at today. And often that spark will be enough for them to reflect and think about something they may not have thought about before.
That was great, thank you so much for that. 2 more questions. Which big moments make you personally proud to be part of Switch and to be involved in this?
This, I think, today is special, having so many people support what is essentially a completely new idea and a new concept. So I think the fact that so many people have been here today, 200 plus people, I think is a testament of amazing support. I think that's the most exciting thing. It is a journey. This is not, it's day 1 of hopefully many Switch events where processes will be improved, learnings will be used from previous Switches to improve the outcomes.
And is there anything else that you would like to add that I haven't touched upon now that you think is really important to mention in this context for the story?
So the last thing I'd like to add is, if you look at Switch as a framework, it doesn't necessarily just mean it could be a framework for corporates. I think government should be looking at, countries should be looking at such a framework. How can you engage people outside government? How can you look at your own country to be more competitive, to be ahead of the curve, to understand what is coming? Because again, it's that understanding, it is awareness. Whether you are a country, whether you are a big business, you're a medium business, you're a small business, it's about awareness as well. And not always having specific solutions to it initially, but understanding what's next. And what's next in terms of robotics, in terms of all kinds of areas that are impacting us, businesses, countries, individuals. If such an event here is going to come up with awareness for corporate, that's a positive thing, because with awareness comes choice.
Very last question, I thought of one more. What's the big vision for Switch moving forward?
I think Switch needs to go global. It's a global idea. You know, Sydney is the first cab up the rank, but I think we'll see Switch in Singapore and Oslo, Istanbul, around the world. I'm sure we will.